Hey everybody, it's Rob from Hypop and welcome back to another video. In this one, I'm unboxing and reviewing the brand new Godox M300BI COB LED light. So I've got with me the new Godox Knowled M300D LED light. Now Knowled is Godox's brand of new professional continuous lighting solutions. And this particular model here, the M300D, is a 300 watt continuous light. Now they do have other lights in the Knowled range, including the Knowled C5R. They have larger production lights such as the M600D and the M600BI, as well as even larger production studio lights such as the MG1200BI. They are expanding this range and they have recently announced newer lights such as their flexible matte, which is like a flexible LED light, and others that they'll be releasing in the near future. But what I'll be looking at today is this brand new range, which is the Knowled M300 range. So the M300 comes in two variations. It has the M300D as well as the M300BI. And now the two versions, the D standing for daylight and BI standing for bi-color. And they also have a 200 watt variation, which is slightly lower in output, so just 100 watts less, but also available in the D and the BI. Now I've got the box here with me, so let's take a closer look at what's included with this kit. And there we have it. So it's the Godox M300D or M300BI case. Now this particular light here, you can see the case is really nice and sturdy looking, looks really clean and professional, nice Godox branding. It's good to see some reinforcements with the stitching here. It also has some guards here on the edges, which is a great touch for most bags. As you know, when you're transporting a bag or you're storing a bag, a lot of the times there's a lot of impact on the corners here, so it's good to have some protection. And lastly, on the back here, it has some protection at each of the corners too. There's a carry strap as well as a D-ring here on either side for shoulder straps. Now, when we flip the bag to the side here, what you can actually see is a little window here that shows the model of this particular light, as well as two zipper openings here that have looks like high vis or orange tabs as well, which is convenient because sometimes these zipper heads are a little too small and you can just use these to pull this open and unzip. So let's open this up. Also a nice touch here, they have some cords that keep the top opening all together, and you can actually loosen these here. So if you'd want to open this a little bit more, you can do so, and that pretty much opens completely there. There's a zipper opening here that has the shoulder strap as well as a safety tether. They have a padded protection cover here, which is great. Now on the inside we have a few things. We've got the Knowled M300BI and the M300D instruction guide. We've got some Godox lighting solution pamphlets here, as well as a few accessories. So firstly we have the Bowen's reflector. So this is the Bowen's reflector here. Has a nice foam protector that keeps the form while it's packaged inside. You can see it's one of those hyper reflectors that has the baffling on the inside there, which is nice. And you've also got quite a few separators in here, and they're all sectioned out, which is great. You've got the light unit itself. So this is the M300BI, and it's a pretty sturdy unit from what you can see in terms of build quality. Has a pretty strong and sturdy yoke bar there. Has some cabling. Looks to be Klinko cabling, so that's a nice secure way to cable up your lighting system to make sure that it doesn't suffer from any accidental tugs or pulls and you lose power. And you also have the Nutrix system here for the power cable. Lastly, you've got the power pack here, or the control pack. So this here, you can see supports the V-Lock batteries on both sides, as well as controls the light itself. We make so many videos just like this, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be updated of any new content we release. leave a like on the video if it's helped you, leave down in the comments section below your thoughts, or if you have any questions about the M300BI, we'd be happy to answer them. Follow us on socials, the links are down below, and visit our website, hypop.com.au. So I've got the M300BI mounted onto one of our desktop stands here. For those of you that are curious, this is the Spectrum 43 centimeter tabletop stand. It's basically a miniature light stand. And the light's mounted to the stand. We've also got the control pack here as well as the cables. Now, just having a quick look at the light itself and why this differs to a lot of Godox's range of lights. So if you are familiar with Godox's range of lights, they have so many different LED options or continuous lighting options, ranging from the initial VL series as well as the SL series, which is really popular for some plug-in lights, and also a few others like compact ones like the ML series and a few other different types like the FL flexible lights. Now, the difference between this new Knowled brand from Godox are that these are the professional range of lights from Godox. And you can tell that immediately by the build quality of the lights, as well as the light quality or the quality overall of the product. You can see here that the light itself is actually built from a aluminium casing. It's a bit of a mix of aluminium and some plastic parts here, but the overall design is catered to the professional market. So you have a yoke bar here that's significantly larger than most yoke bars, and you can see the actual light body can swivel 360 degree around the yoke bar. Now, the yoke bar also features things such as a safety tether here that you can tether up to either the handle and also to the side of the yoke bar, which is great if you'll be mounting this with the yoke bar onto a ceiling or to a truss system or onto a C-stand, and making sure that if it gets knocked over, you have a safety tether here to ensure that the light pretty much stays in place and it's just not going to drop on someone, which is convenient. You can see the branding for Godox has kind of changed too, so they're really changing the look and feel of the products themselves to suit this pro market. And at the front here, it comes with all the things that you'd expect from a continuous light. So you have a Bowens protector that comes included, as well as the Bowens, the LED chip. So this is the COB LED chip. Now, one thing to take note is the COB LED chip here is actually circle in shape or round, as compared to other COB LED chips that would be particularly, square or, a different shape perhaps. But the main difference here is because the circle COB would actually produce or fill a modifier such as a reflector or a softbox nice and evenly as compared to a square shape. Now, you've also got the actual light fixture protruding from the casing itself, which means that when you mount a modifier in here, the actual light itself will come into the modifier a little bit more and fill it nice and evenly as compared to if it was more up against the casing. Now, having a look at the control pack, you have a few nice additions here that are different to other brands. You've got a carry handle here that's kind of made from what looks to be a leather or perhaps just a fake leather strap. Seems nice and sturdy. Doesn't seem like one of those rope ones that feel like they could break quite easily. You also have a nice control pack here that has the brand as well as the input points. You've got a dial, the power button, menu button, effects button, and also the fan button, which is interesting. We'll take a closer look at that one when we set it all up. So the good thing is you actually have these latches here that show you which battery or V-lock battery, when mounted, would be your A battery as well as your B battery. And let's take a closer look at that in terms of its powering options once we get this all set up. You also have a V-lock mounting plate here, and this is typically used for those clamp brackets that you can clamp to a C-stand or a heavy-duty stand, and that way you can have the control pack not just on the ground, but perhaps mounted onto a stand. And at the bottom here, you've just got the inputs for your DMX in and DMX out, as well as a USB Type A input here, which is likely for the firmware updates, should there be any, for the Knowled M300BI. Now let's turn this on here and take a closer look at how to operate the light, as well as go through some of its main features. So I've got the M300BI all plugged in here, and before we jump into the operation of everything, some of the main features of the light include that it has a CRI rating of 96, It has a TLCI rating of 97. You have a color temperature range of 2800 to 6500 Kelvin. You also have 0 to 100% dimming control, which is flicker free, and you can do so in 1% increments. Now it's a lot easier to do that on the app control because you have connectivity via the app in Bluetooth. You also have the DMX controls here that I mentioned earlier, as well as control via 2.4 gigahertz wireless system, which is convenient. And you also have the capability to have 7 special lighting effects on the light too. And you know, the convenient thing with that is you're able to connect that all up into the Godox Light app. So if you're unfamiliar with that, Godox now have a light app that's available on the Apple's iTunes store as well as the Google Play Store. So take a closer look at that if you have some Godox lights as part of your setup. And the mounting point is the Bowen's S-type mount there. So that opens you up to so many different lighting modifiers such as softboxes, barn doors. For continuous lights, you can even look at spotlight mount attachments. So many different lighting modifiers for a continuous light like this. And you have multiple powering options. So what I've got here is I've got it plugged into a AC source here, but you also have DC 48 volt as an input, as well as those V-Lock batteries too. Now, in terms of operation, I've got it all plugged in, so let's just turn on the light really quickly. And just holding down that power button there, and you can see it takes a second once it shows that it's on the display for it to turn. It turns shortly after on the light itself. And you can see I'm going from 1% increments upwards there. And on the display, you can see a few pieces of information. Firstly, you've got the wireless mode here. So currently it's stating the channel and group. So if you're using that 2.4 gigahertz wireless system with the remote control, you're able to dial into your channel 21 and group A, or just matching this up to ensure you have connectivity. You also have Bluetooth there, as well as the percentage increments here in the center, nice and big numbers, as well as the color temp. Now on the daylight version, you obviously don't have the ability to change the color temp. So this one here in particular specifies 2800 Kelvin, which you can see it's on a warmer tone currently. And I can change this in 100K increments up to the 6500 Kelvin. Now, if you wanted to jump into the other buttons here, so to jump between the dimming and the color temperature, all you need to do is just press down on the dial here, and that switches between, and you can tell that with the arrow there. And you've got the power button, which you have to hold to turn off and hold to turn on. Then from there, you've got the menu button, and the menu has a few different options, including wireless, Bluetooth, and DMX, depending on connectivity. Then you've got fan, which is currently set to auto. So if you turn that to off, you actually do have a limitation as to the output for your lights. So when the fan is off, it's actually capping out at 25%. Now, even if we change this to say 6500 Kelvin, it's still capping out at 25%. So at all the color temperature range, it's capped out at 25%. Now, if we're just to do the maths there, for a 300 watt light like this, if it's capping out at 25%, give or take, you'll be losing about, so you're only at about maybe 35 times 2, so about 70, 80 watts perhaps in output, which is not too bad if you don't need too much light. However, if you're caught in a pinch and you need to have the fans off for whatever reason because you have some audio sensitive type of clip that you're filming, then that's a good feature to have. So you have the fan mode there too, and you have the dimmer, which allows you to control between the different types of dimming. So you've got linear, S-curve, exponential, and logarithmic as well. And you've got the screen brightness, which you can increase in 1, 2, or 3 levels of brightness. You have the language that lets you toggle between English and Chinese. You have the reset button, and the reset's used for the Bluetooth reset. So when you hit that, there's a progress bar. The light goes quite bright. For whatever reason, it puts it back onto its default setting, and you can go back to 0% there with the dial. That's the reset. And lastly is the version, and this particular light is version 1.01. So you can monitor the Godox website, jump into their support or firmware sections, and make sure that you have the latest version and update if needed via that. Likely to be via the Godox Lite app, so you might be able to do that on the air or over the air, as well as perhaps the USB input here too. So that's a quick way, just a quick run through on how to control the light. Now in terms of the light itself, what we'll do is we'll set this up on a stand that's about 1 meter away, and we'll test its output settings, as well as the CRI settings with our light meter here. Now the light itself is rated at 3200 Kelvin to be about 11,400 lux at 1 meter, and then at 5600 Kelvin to be about 13,400 lux at 1 meter. So about 2000 lux more powerful at the daylight range, which is actually quite a lot of output for a light like this. And it's a great light because it's a 300 watt unit, and you do have the alternatives of the daylight if you don't need the bicolor, and also the step down to the 200 watt version if you need less power, which covers a few different price points there, especially if you're looking to start building up your continuous lighting kit. So I've got the Godox Light app here set up, and what I've done is you can see when you first initialize the app, you'll have a demo project set up, but I've created a project called Project 1. Which you can do just via the plus button at the top here. So when you jump into your project, you can hit the plus button to add fixtures, and ensuring the light itself is on and powered from the control pack here. You can see the lights on the side of me here. I'll just turn this down, and you can hit the light that you're looking for here. So in this case, it's the M300BI. You can see the 4 digits at the end there, or the 4 characters are 0A68, and that's the identifier for this particular light. So if you did have multiple M300BIs as an example, those last 4 digits or characters should be different. We'll hit confirm, and that's going to pair the light up to your Godox Light app. And that's going to make it really convenient to set this up and control it, especially if you have it mounted onto a truss system, or you have it high up for whatever reason, or you don't have access to the control box. Pairing successful, and that has now activated the light. And you can see the intensity is a bit too much there as it defaulted. But what you can see I can do is set up the light, and you can jump in, press the light, change all the settings. So go from that 2800 Kelvin to the 6500 Kelvin. You can change the dimming curve to be linear, S-curve, exponential, and logarithmic. And that just changes, and to change that means that the way that it's actually dimming or increasing in intensity has a slightly different stepping feature. So just taking note of that, and you can identify that by doing a bit of trial and error and seeing what best works for you. And you also have access to the effects. So the effects here, you can see there are 7 listed here: flashlight, lightning, broken bulb, TV, candle, fire, and firework. So as an example, if we go to fire, you can see that that's put on to, let's just put it on a 1% increment. You can see it's a warm color tone, and it also has a pulsating kind of effect to mimic fire. And you have different levels of the fire effects. So you've got level 1, 2, and 3. So not only do you have 7 different effects, you've got different levels to those effects too. So essentially 21, I guess you could say, 3 by 7 different types of effects. Now the app's a lot more convenient to deal with, because if you have multiple lights in the configuration, you're able to turn them off really quickly and toggle them off, and just jump into all the controls a lot easier. And is in a special, lighting scenario. So if you have a project that you need to set up, whether this is on location or for a professional shoot, you can configure all your lights here, make sure they're all at the right setting, and have them all at the palm of your hand, especially if you don't have access to the control box, the physical control box itself. So that's just a quick run through on how to set up the app. So I've got with me the Sekonic C800 here, and this will allow me to just go off the readings to determine the CRI, as well as the lux rating as specified by Godox. So we're just seeing if that's all accurate. Now turning on the light really quickly here, I've actually got it switched on the app. So I can increase the intensity just to get it out of the way, but also jumping into the CRI here. So as rated, let's put it at its 5600 Kelvin here, which is daylight. and just giving it a quick measure. So I'm about 1 meter away from the light here, and it's coming up with a 97 CRI, which is amazing. Let's turn it down. So just showing the screen there, it's a 97 CRI. Now jumping into the lux rating here, let's have a look. So this is using the reflector. It was rated at about 13,400, and it's coming up even a lot stronger. So firstly, I've got it at 5,600 Kelvin, and you can see it's actually rated at 5609, so just within 9K there, which is amazing. It does have a 0.1 green color shift there, which means that you'd be able to balance that with a magenta filter, but it's not too much of an issue. And you also have it rated at 76,000 lux, and that's at about 1 meter. So I have it at more than arm's length away from me. So it's only approximate, so it's not a completely scientific test. However, it does state that at 1 meter with the reflector on 13,400, so it's significantly more than that. So in terms of output and accuracy, you've got that CRI rating, you've got that CCT rating, and also that lux rating, which is more than enough in most cases in terms of a continuous lighting source for a 300 watt light. So just as a comparison, I've actually got one of Godox's other continuous LED lights here, which is the SL300 Mark II. Now I'm aware they have the new version, which is the Mark III, which is essentially an identical light. It even physically looks the same. However, it does have compatibility with the Godox light app. So it is kind of similar in a sense to this light here, especially the Mark III version, as it's a 300 watt light. It's also a Godox light, a continuous LED light, and it also has quite a few similarities to this light itself in terms of its output, the way to control it. And yeah, if you're considering a continuous lighting source, you may be comparing these two lights as we speak. So in terms of the SL range, if you're familiar with Godox's other continuous lights, they have the UL range, which only goes up to the 150 or 150 watts. They have that in the Mark I and Mark II. They have the VL range, which goes from the 150, the 200 and the 300 watt. And they also have the smaller compact ones, such as the ML and the SL, which usually only goes up to about well, it's got the 300 for the SL, but the ML range only goes up to the 60, I believe. So in terms of a comparison, this light here, the SL range, you can see all the controls are actually on the light itself. So the light is actually physically bigger. You can see the differences there in terms of size when they're side by side. So the advantage of the M300BI is that the light head itself is quite small. However, the control pack is separate from the light. And the reason why it's separate is because it does have those multiple powering options. So you have the ability to control it with the AC, you've got the DC 48 volt, as well as the V-Lock batteries. However, with the SL range, you've only got the AC plug here. So it's more of a studio or an indoor light, whereas the Knowled range is a versatile light that you can take indoors or on locations with you as well. Now, in terms of a like-for-like comparison, I guess you'd be comparing it more to the VL range of lights by Godox. And the differences between the VL and the ML really comes down to the build and light quality of those two lights. So if you really want something that's all in a neat package, the ability to have the fanless mode, which is available on the Knowled range and not on the VL range, the ability to control it with different powering options. You've got the lighting effects, the Godox light up. You've got the really neat carrying case that's sturdy. It's well built and well made. The Knowled range really, at its price point, is a really competitive light. Now you might actually be looking at alternative lights, alternative brands. So you might be looking at the Aperture range of lights. So you've got, as a like for this light, perhaps the Lightstorm 300X by Aperture. Or you might be looking at the Nanlite Forza range. So there's a few different lights there that you compare, but I feel that in terms of the build quality, the price point at which the Knowled comes in, and then if you're already integrated into the Godox lighting system and your lights all link up to the Godox light app, it's going to be one of those decisions where you go with the system that you've chosen to invest in. And as we know, Godox are continuing to innovate, and they have all those other lights in the mix. They've got that small RGB C5R, they've got the Flex lights coming soon that they recently announced at the NAB show. They've also got some really heavy duty or industrial, industry standard lights, the MG1200BI. So it really is that investment into those types of lights that you have as part of your workflow and as part of your setup. So that was our unboxing and review of the Godox Knowled M300BI LED light. For more videos just like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be updated of any new content we release. Leave a like on the video if it's helped you. Feel free to leave down in the comments section below your thoughts, or if you have any questions about the Knowled M300BI. Follow us on socials, the links are down below, and visit our website, hypop.com.au. Thanks for watching.